Hi, I'm Angie Beto with Town Square Buzz. Thanks for joining us again as we continue today's segment of Town Talk and continue our discussion with Roger Harris, who is running for City Council at Large seat. Today, we'll talk a little further with Roger and find out what he thinks the important issues that face our city are. Roger, thanks for joining us again as we continue our discussion. Tell me a little bit about what makes you tick as a person.
Oh.
What drives you and why are you passionate about running for council now?
You know, I spent 24 years here in McKinney as a businessman, having served on the airport. I have been around town. I've dealt with city council, city staff, of course still on the Economic Development Board. I think we've got a tremendous amount of favorable momentum on the part of city staff and the city council. I remember those days being on the airport board that we didn't have anybody on the city council that had a great deal of experience with general aviation. You know, that was back in, I guess, the 90s.
Right.
And I found out not too long ago that Pete Huff was not going to run for re-election. And for those that may not know it, Pete has spent his life associated with the McKinney Airport. And he also serves on a state Texas Department of Transportation Aviation Advisory Committee. I didn't want to have a gap in the city council with the experience in general aviation or the McKinney Airport specifically. And I felt quite strong from my exposure with the Economic Development Board that we really need to turn up the heat, get tax base on the ground, and we need to do it. You know, I used to be in sales prior to buying Metro Linen, and there's several components to marketing a city. You know, one is the product development,
Sure.
One is marketing, and one is sales. And the city staff, development services, need to play a key role in developing our product. Economic development, of course, is marketing and sales, which they're doing a fantastic job. We've had tremendous, I'll say, work on the part of EDC, and with the international interest, we've got with China, we had the Director General from Taiwan here last night for a reception. And locally, we've got interest. There's quite a bit of interest in the city. But in order to meet the financial obligations that the citizens of McKinney are going to be desiring in the future, the school system that we're going to be needing, we really need to get a cohesive effort going on developing the product. The areas of town plan for what we want, marketing and sales on the economic development front.
Is there a piece of McKinney as a community that you feel we need to focus on as far as that development goes?
No, I think obviously that'll be done in phases. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of real estate to the north that's undeveloped. I think logically the segment along 121 is going to be probably the first that you're going to see interest in companies moving to. We've got the Gateway project at 75 and 121. We've got the two TIFs that the City Council's recently put in for the Highway 5 and the airport. We've got the area around the airport, and then we've got several different pockets or areas of city slated for commercial development. So, you know, I think you're going to see it done in phases. The planning of that, the development of that, the infrastructure of that is what I'm saying needs to be planned between development services and economic development.
Okay. You mentioned the Gateway project, and let's come back to that in a minute. But I wanted to go back to something you just said about the airport. And in the last segment, we talked about how important that airport development is to our own economic development. How would you go about putting a plan into place to address that piece of the economic development? Are you talking about marketing our airport to certain corporations that you would identify? Do you have some concept of how you would put a plan into place to attract more business at our airport?
The airport does a pretty good job marketing that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a presence at the MBAA, the annual convention for general aviation. The aggressiveness of marketing on the part of EDC when they're out talking to corporations, sure, bringing them to the airport. But in addition to that, the area around the airport, the real estate that is vacant, that I feel we need to get planned, and we need to start marketing as aviation-related development potential.
Okay, so if you were to put that together as part of something that you want us to focus on, is that in your mind, or is something else the biggest issue that we need to look toward accomplishing in the next 5 to 10 years?
The tax base creation in general,
okay,
I feel is the biggest issue.
Okay, and how would you address that specifically?
The
airport being one.
The airport being one, but the 121 quarter,
okay,
the 75 and 121 Gateway project are both areas that I think are extremely important and will be developed relatively soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a marketing and sales project.
Okay.
The area around the airport, other areas of town, up in the 380 and 75 area, there's commercial development potential. Those areas are pretty much ready to bring a corporation and build a building. There's other areas that are planned. There's a potential to look at the existing plan and modify that for commercial development, say closer into our current development. But overall, in the past, I think the Development Services Department of the city staff and Economic Development have been totally separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
I think the council is already looking at that, but I feel quite strong that those two efforts need to work together to improve our product and let the EDC market both domestically and internationally and sell what we've got to offer to the corporations in a very aggressive manner.
Okay. So let's go back to the Gateway project. For those of you who don't know, Gateway is at 121 and 75, and that was where the convention center and shopping retail area was to be built and established. So how important do you feel it is for us to continue in that location? Do we need a convention center as a city? What are your feelings on that project in particular?
That's being studied currently. Had it come out of the ground originally, it was slated to be a convention center with a hotel adjoining the College campus there. With the new studies coming out, of course we need to see what these
Right.
studies hold. But we're several years after the original plan,
Right.
so
Things have changed.
there's modifications. We've had a lot more development down to the south of us that could change the recommendation on that property. But we made a commitment to College
Mm-hmm.
to have meeting capacity adjoining their property, and it is the front door to McKinney.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be
The gateway,
it's going
so
to
to
be major.
speak.
Correct. So that really needs to be carefully looked at. Meanwhile, the 121 corridor now is open, is
Right.
ready for business,
Yes,
which
it
it
is.
wasn't at the beginning
Yep.
when they started planning Gateway. So it'll be interesting to see the way those studies come out. I want to make sure we do the right thing. I
Okay.
mean, we've done, we've made a good attempt The economy fell apart, the project fell apart. I'll have to add that I think the City Council, EDC, and CDC have done a tremendous job picking up the pieces, cleaning it up, and getting it ready. I mean, the city now is in control of all the property. I saw some of that from the time that I've been on EDC, and I'll share with you that I think the negotiating team that the mayor put together and the city council, I don't think we could have gotten any better outcome.
Terrific. That's good news. As you mentioned in our last segment, McKinney was voted by many, or chosen by Money Magazine as the 5th best place to live in the country. So we're very proud of that. If you had a magic wand and no budget, what would you change about our city?
Ooh.
Use your creative too.
Yeah. And you said no budget, so I can't say we need.
Exactly. You don't have to
so
worry
fiscal
about
issues are off the table.
Right, fiscal issues off the table. Just for a moment.
The continued development of what we have.
Okay.
I think the diversity that we have, the historic component that we have, I think all adds to the citizens of McKinney enjoying a well-rounded lifestyle that is what brings people to McKinney and makes us number 5 best place to live. You know, we've got all kinds of amenities. I guess if we had a magic wand, I'd say to double the amount of park space and
right. Get us that natatorium and that
exactly. That's a very good point. The natatorium. I've already had people say, if you'll vote for that, I'll give you my vote. And then I had the other day, well, you don't have to vote for it, but just tell us you'll push for it. You know, and that's one of those items that if we had money, without a doubt, it would be built. And that's one of the reasons why we've got to go for good, controlled, planned tax base that is going to allow us the luxuries that people want in quality of life.
So let's wrap up today's visit, and we'll come back and address a little bit more about the budget and planning in the future and that kind of thing.
Very good.
Thanks for joining us again at Town Square Buzz for our segment of Town Talk. Please give us your questions and let us know what you think. Check our website at townsquarebuzz.com.